lifetime epic, Enemy at the Gates.
You have any idea what I have been through these last few days?
Whatever you've been through, multiply it by 1,000 times, you'll have some vague conception of where I'm at.
Brad Pitt is a goofball in a strange land in the Mexican, where he searches for a precious pistol and breaks up with Julia Roberts at the same time. It's one of 6 new movies we'll review this week. I'm Richard Roeper, columnist for the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. The title of The Mexican refers to a priceless historical handgun that Brad Pitt is assigned to bring back from Mexico or face death at the hands of a mobster. That's because he's already in big trouble for blowing another assignment. His problem is he's always fighting with his girlfriend, played by Julia Roberts, who is deeply into the self-help movement. She is, meanwhile, kidnapped by a gangster, played by James Gandolfini, and they find lots to talk about.
He's so selfish, and it's like we've been living his life forever. I mean, he'd tell you a different story altogether, but I give, and he just keeps taking. Our counselor totally agrees with me, by the way.
Don't put much stock in those weirdo counselor types.
Pitt is in way over his head in a land where he speaks no Spanish and is surrounded by lots of other people trying to steal the same gun.
I need a lift in your El Truco to the next towno, villaggio, pueblo.
Ah, el pueblo.
Yes, sí.
El otro pueblo.
Sí.
The challenge to Pitt and Roberts stay alive and save their romance.
By the grace of God, or I don't know what, honey, you have managed to Forrest Gump your way through this. Just, if we run now, we're going to be running the rest of our lives.
Laid-back conversations like that one and the earlier one with Gandolfini are the charm of the Mexican, which avoids temptations to turn into mindless action. Screenwriter J.H. Wyman writes quirky and funny dialogue, and director Gore Verbinski combines Pitt's quest with a series of fanciful scenes in which he's told many different stories about the history of that handgun. Pitt and Roberts are smooth and goofy, but the scenes I like best involve Gandolfini, a hitman with a heart of gold and a lot of secrets that Roberts is able to coax out of him. The Mexican is sweeter, funnier, and a lot more charming than I expected it to be.
You know, there are many, many problems with this movie, and I'll start with the fact that you've got Julia Roberts and Brad Pitt, possibly the 2 biggest stars right here, right now at this time in the history of motion pictures, right? For this era, these are huge stars. So what do? They keep them apart for 2/3 of the story, which is just infuriating and disappointing.
Well, you're not. The story is about 2 people who are apart.
When you have stars this big, it becomes a star vehicle. So that is going to disappoint a lot of people.
Of this movie.
Well, yeah, it is. It's a criticism from me because I was disappointed after all these years. They finally get together and then they stay apart in this movie. Now, is this movie supposed to be a comedy? If it is, I didn't laugh very much. Is it supposed to be a fable? If it is, I didn't think those stories that you talk about, the backstories,
it's supposed to be a kind of a human comedy. A human comedy about personalities.
Well, it wasn't very funny. What's funny about Julia Roberts and Brad Pitt when they do talk to each other, screaming at each other on the phone?
Well, first of all, it's funny, all of their self-help lingo and all of their slogans that they quote at each other. That's funny. Also, it's funny that Gandolfini is so good at creating this character who is so much more complex than we expect. His scenes with Roberts are the best things in the movie.
Yeah, they are, but that's not what I expected, and I was disappointed that that's what this was.
I like a movie that doesn't give me what I expected.
Well, if it succeeds and surprises you instead of disappoints and fails at trying to give you something different. And this whole mystery and the thriller about the gun itself doesn't work at all. And there are moments of charm, but I think Brad Pitt is kind of phoning in his performance, and I think Julia, who I love, is just rambling on kind of playing this kind of, Walmart beauty queen.
You wanted to see a love story with Pitt and Roberts, and this movie isn't that, and so you were disappointed. That's not fair.
Well, I think it is a very fair criticism, and I think if you're going to put 2 huge stars in a star vehicle and not have them act together, that's a legitimate criticism, one of many I have about this movie. Okay, our next movie is Series 7. It's a dark and wicked spoof of reality TV shows like Survivor, The Mole, and Cops. The premise here is that we're watching a Series 7 marathon, several episodes strung together, just like they do with those real-world marathons on MTV. Everything looks like a TV show, but the stakes have been raised. Each week, the champion takes on 5 randomly chosen contestants who are handed weapons and left to defend their lives. You lose by dying.
Has Franklin lost his mind? And will Connie take the plunge?
I'm not out to hurt anybody.
Then, what dark secret do these 2 share?
Merritt Wever is excellent as Lindsay, a teenager whose parents drive her to a planned ambush.
And who's going to be sitting here waiting for you when you come back?
You are.
My dad would want me to tell the contenders that I'm going to win. And I will win.
Kiss goodbye? No, no kisses goodbye. Because nobody's going anywhere. There's no reason to say goodbye.
That's Donna Hanover, ex-wife of New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani, adding a whole new meaning to the term stage mother. The reigning champion of the contenders is the pregnant Dawn, played by Brooke Smith. You might remember she was the girl trapped in the pit in Silence of the Lambs. In a Survivor-like touch, Dawn and the other contestants have received letters telling them to meet at a local mall.
I got a bad vibe about this. I'm giving this 5 more minutes and then I'm out of here.
What the hell?
What is she doing here?
Writer-director Daniel Minahan is a tabloid TV veteran, and he knows the territory so well that if you came across Series 7 on cable, you'd think it was another cheesy-looking reality show, until the blood started to spill. Series 7 is a one-joke satire, but the joke is expertly layered. For example, when a crew is plagued by technical difficulties, look-alike actors are brought in to reenact scenes just like they do on the E! channel. This is an aggressively outrageous satire.
I didn't think so. I thought it was an easy target, and they just blazed away at the bullseye as much as they could. I liked the performance. I thought Brooke Smith was very good as that pregnant girl who explains she has to do this for her baby, although of course there's a logical error there, because if the baby gets killed, that won't be good for the baby. But come on, 5 people start every week and 4 of them get killed, and then a new team comes on. That doesn't sound to me, at some point they should have dealt with that your odds are 80% you're going to be killed.
Well, they do deal with that because when they...
And if you live, that's only so you can fight again next week. I mean, eventually everybody gets killed.
No, because I think if you survive for 3 straight weeks, then you become the champion, and you get, because if she survives this one last time, she gets to go on and live with their baby.
Okay, well,
Roger,
logic isn't the problem anyway.
Well,
to me,
no, wait a minute, though. They do deal with that because they show when these people come into their homes, people are saying, no, no, not me. It's like, you know, the doomsday death merchant has come to your home.
Yeah, but that doesn't
so they do
explain
deal
why
with
they
that.
have to say yes.
Well, if they don't say yes, I think the SWAT team is going to take them out right there. They hand you a gun,
but that's not in the
Roger,
movie.
they hand you a gun and you're now in the game. Now, if you choose not to play, you're going to get capped immediately.
Okay, so those are the rules. I just
Come on, that's funny stuff.
It wasn't that good as far as satire is concerned. It wasn't real. I mean, you could do a thing on reality TV. In fact, I think reality TV in a way is a satire of itself. But this movie, to me, was so outlandish and so thin. And you're right, it's one joke, and it just lasted too long and didn't work.
I thought it zips along, and they put in enough wrinkles and twists. And by the end, I actually cared about a couple of these characters.
Okay, later in the show, Oscar nominee Ed Harris is a Nazi sharpshooter and enemy at the gates. Coming up next, Memento, about a man with no short-term memory. He wants revenge, but who against?
What's the last thing that you do remember?
My wife.
That's sweet.
Dying. Okay, so what am I doing? Oh, I'm chasing this guy. No, he's chasing me.
That's Guy Pearce in Memento, which won the Sundance Screenplay Prize for its tricky story of a man with short-term memory loss. He can only remember things for a few minutes at a time, so he has to write himself a lot of notes and even tattoo memos on his body. He wants revenge for the death of his wife, but who can he trust? And what can he believe? And what can he remember? And what has he forgotten? Carrie Ann Moss plays a woman who, if he can trust his notes, wants to help him out.
What about here?
Maybe it's for when I find him.
Those tattoos are memos of the really important stuff that Leonard doesn't want to forget, but he even forgets her. The next time he sees her, he forgets they've already met.
Sorry, I should have explained. I have this...
You did explain, Lenny.
Please call me Leonard. My wife called me Lenny.
Yeah, I know. You told me.
Well, then I probably told you how much I hated it.
Yeah.
It's difficult enough for Leonard to keep his investigation straight, but it's even trickier for us because on top of everything else, Memento tells its story backwards. It starts with what may or may not be the end, and it stumbles toward the beginning as the increasingly desperate Leonard draws charts and diagrams, and a character played by, is he increasingly or decreasingly desperate? I'm confused. A character played by Joe Pantoliano turns up again and again. Director Christopher Nolan, who wrote the screenplay with his brother Jonathan, must have had a heck of a time dealing with the character's motivation, since he lives backwards and forgets everything. But the result, weirdly enough, works both as a thriller and as a mind game.
It's an ingenious film, and the effect of sort of starting at the end and working back to the beginning gives us in the audience short-term memory loss because we have to keep thinking back to the scene we've just seen, and now we understand it because we've just gotten a new fresh piece of the puzzle. And this is a movie you really can't go out for popcorn halfway through this film. Each scene really interlocks, and if you miss one in the middle there, you're going to be completely lost. It's a movie for smart people, but it's not just a gimmick. I love this movie.
I liked it a lot. You know, I liked it a lot too, and I'll tell you, what's interesting is by telling it backwards, they create the feeling in us that he has.
Right.
We are just as confused as he is. We don't know anything more. We know less and less as the movie goes on.
Which makes
and
the
he
acting,
knows less and less as his life goes on.
Exactly, and the acting is that much more impressive as the story develops or unfolds, because at first we think somebody's a good person and maybe they're not, and we see what they were doing earlier is really because they're doing this later on.
And Guy Pearce does a good job of trying. He's got kind of a dry humor as he explains to people, now, you know, we better talk fast or otherwise I won't remember this. I have a little problem, you know, he explains.
Exactly.
And he explains again and again and again.
It's my favorite film so far this year.
Okay.
Okay, coming up next, Jude Law is a Russian hero in the wartime saga, Enemy at the Gates.
He isn't dead, because I haven't killed him yet. Do you know any heroes? I know one.
Jude Law and Joseph Fiennes are Russian soldiers fighting desperately to keep Stalingrad from Hitler's claws in Enemy at the Gates, an old-fashioned story of love and war painted on a stunning and bleak canvas. Director Jean-Jacques Annaud's epic keys on the German siege in the winter of 1942-43, with Law playing the legendary sniper Vasily Zaitsev, whose incredible shooting skills are chronicled by Danilov, played by Fiennes. The opening battle scenes almost equal Saving Private Ryan in their scope and nauseating realism. As the war rages on, Vasily continues to rack up the kills while propagandist Danilov reports each feat in stories designed to give the Russian people a sliver of hope. So the Germans bring in a legendary sharpshooter of their own, the cold-blooded Major Koenig, played by Ed Harris.
Did he go to school?
He knows how to write. He answers lots of letters.
Is it girls who write to him?
Everyone writes to him.
And is there a girl he loves in his village?
Not in his village, here.
There's also a love triangle involving Vasily, Danilov, and a plucky soldier named Tanya, played by Rachel Weisz in her best performance to date. But the real tension involves the deadly game between Vasily and Koenig. Annaud's breathtakingly stark shots of a city in ruins are really just backdrop for a high noon-style confrontation between these two sharpshooters, one a German nobleman, the other a simple farm boy. Enemy at the Gates moves at a deliberate pace, and it breaks no new ground, but those battle scenes are riveting, and the cast is excellent. Those moments of greatness make it well worth seeing.
I really liked this movie, too, and one of the things I liked was the way that I could understand the strategy of the two snipers. You kind of, after a while, figure out the layout of the factory area and the rail yard area where they're both operating, and you see what they do in order to try to get the other guy out into the open, and there's a fabulous moment when the Russian is he's in the sights of the German, and the German thinks he's dead. I mean, I don't want to give away too much because I'm not giving away too much, really.
No, you're not at all.
But what he does at that moment is just incredible. And another scene involving some reflections in some panes of glass.
Very clever, very clever
stuff. It's really a great strategic cat and mouse game.
And the first shot of the Russian soldiers when they arrive at Stalingrad, and we see what they see first, the looks on their faces, they don't want to get out of the train, and then it just zooms over, and we see this amazing tableau of violence and carnage, and it's really, it's a stunning shot.
The one thing that amazed me is the Russians attack the Germans, and then when they retreat, they're shot by their own officers for retreating.
Yeah,
they're going to, basically, they're going to be shot no matter which direction they go in.
Exactly, exactly.
Our next movie is an unlikely love story called The Taste of Others, about a French industrialist who decides against hiring an English coach and then is dragged to the theater that night by his wife and falls instantly in love with the lead actress, not realizing she's the very same teacher he just turned down. He's not her type, but meanwhile, both his driver and his bodyguard fall in love with the same woman bartender, and maybe they are each other's types. Here's a funny scene. Smitten the businessman quickly changes his mind and hires the actress to be his teacher after all.
The.
Yes, very good. Yes. Okay. 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 Okay, that's okay. The weather is nice.
The weather is nice. J'ai pas faim.
No, I'm not hungry.
What?
Those are Brigitte Cantillon and Jean-Pierre Bacri. Meanwhile, his driver, played by Alain Chabat, chats up the bartender, played by Agnes Jouy, who is the film's director.
Mais on se connaît d'où exactement? Excusez-moi, hein, mais je...
Ça n'a aucune importance. On a juste couché ensemble.
On a couché ensemble.
The businessman in The Taste of Others loves a woman who simply doesn't share his taste. She even hates his mustache, so he shaves it off.
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Vous avez rien remarqué, vous? C'est-à-dire?
The charming thing about The Taste of Others, which has just been nominated for Best Foreign Film Oscar, is how it's all based on the observation of little quirks and foibles and conversational strategies and personal tics of these characters. It's a comedy where you don't laugh out loud, but you're smiling almost all the time. And I love the way the actress Brigitte Cantillon can look tired and middle-aged in one scene and then turn into a sensuous, smoldering object of desire in the very next scene.
I was disappointed because I was drawn into the characters as the story unfolded, but then I just found it kind of flat and uninvolving, and it just played to too many stereotypes. The businessman lout who's made fun of by the artsy people and his kind of crass way around them, and it just kind of, we see that several times.
But he's not crass, he's touching. He's touching.
I didn't find him the least bit touching.
There are notes out there that he can't sound, and he begins to realize that he realizes his life is not complete, that he can't get to these people.
I don't see that realization, and there's just sort of a casual, and I know that's, you know, part of the supposed charm of this sort of casual attitude, the two bodyguards that fall in love with the same woman, and the one guy's got a girlfriend who's stateside, and she's fooling around at him, and he kind of just reacts.
No, but what about the dialogue there, which has been compared to Friends, and the fact that people, you know, talk about trivial things and you understand what's really behind what they're talking about?
I just found it to be continually trivial for me without developing into anything.
It's a character study. It's about the way these people behave. And
characters didn't draw me
in.
None of the characters drew me in. Okay, coming up next, a great teen romance is now on DVD.
Ebert and Roeper's Video Pick of the Week is brought to you by Nestle Raisinets. Try Raisinets in new convenient resealable bags.
Compared to such horrible recent efforts as Head Over Heels and Saving Silverman, the John Hughes comedies of the 80s and 90s are starting to look like classics. Hughes made his directorial debut in 1984 with 16 Candles, starring Molly Ringwald as Samantha, who has a crush on a sensitive hunk named Jake, played by the Where Is He Now, Michael Scheffling. But Ringwald actually shares more screen time with Anthony Michael Hall, the self-described King of the Geeks.
What a decent night, huh? It's my birthday. You say it's your birthday. It's my birthday too. Don't do that, okay?
Hughes isn't above the easy, gross-out laughs, but he also fills the screen with funny bits of business.
Very nice. We have 5 minutes and then... I'm at a loss.
16 Candles holds up as one of the best teen comedies ever made, and it's my video pick of the week.
Now, just a brief word about another would-be comedy opening this weekend. It stars David Arquette, a cute little kid, some gangsters, and a dog trained by the FBI. The name of the movie is See Spot Run. I see Spot, I see him run. Run, Spot, run. I will run. I will run from Spot. I will run from See Spot run.
There's a scene in this movie where David Arquette is covered in dog droppings, and all I could think was, well, now you know how we feel, pal, okay?
Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed on this week's show. We split on the Mexican. I liked the dialogue, especially between James Gandolfini and Julia Roberts. Richard thought it was a major disappointment. Another split decision on Series 7. Richard thought it was a darkly funny film. I thought it was thin and obvious. But 2 big thumbs up for Memento and its story of a forgetful Avenger. It opens in 2 weeks. And 2 more thumbs up for Enemy at the Gates, a sharp-edged story of war. It also opens in 2 weeks. We disagreed on The Taste of Others. I thought it was an amusing human comedy. Richard didn't. And finally, 2 big thumbs down for See Spot Run.
Well, I was thrilled by Memento, and I hope the next time Brad and Julia do a movie together, they actually do a movie together.
Yeah, but that seems to me to miss the point, because you kind of have to review the movie they made, not the movie you would have cast them in.
It is the point. Remember, you can hear our reviews at ebert-roeper-movies.com and read us in print at suntimes.com. Next week, a special show, If We Pick the Winners, our annual show in which we imagine who would win Oscars if only 2 people had ballots, Roger and me. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.